First contact and false assumptions. The crystalline spires of the Varline Central Command stretched into the purple skies of Var Prime, their surfaces reflecting the light of 3 setting suns. Inside the Grand Chamber, Supreme Commander Zira Nelvarin watched the primitive Earth vessel approach their orbital dock with barely concealed disdain. "Look at that hull design," she muttered to her Chief Science Officer Teln. "Metal alloys and chemical propulsion. They're practically savages with faster-than-light capability." The human ship, designated ESS Endeavour, was indeed a stark contrast to the elegant Varlin vessels surrounding it. Where Varlin ships were smooth and crystalline, flowing with organic curves, the human vessel was all hard angles and exposed machinery. Radiators extended like giant wings, and massive engine clusters protruded from its rear. A far cry from the clean quantum drives used by the Varline fleet. They achieved FTL travel only 50 years ago, Teln noted, his tentacles rippling with amusement. Most species take at least 3 centuries to progress from chemical rockets to fold space technology. They're rushing into the galactic community like children. The human delegation would arrive soon, and Zira had been tasked with evaluating Earth's petition to join the Varline Defense Alliance. After 3,000 years of peace and technological advancement, the alliance spanned nearly a quarter of the galaxy. They had eliminated war, poverty, and most forms of social strife. Their technology was so advanced that most younger species viewed it as practically magical. But something about these humans made Zira uneasy. When the human delegation entered the chamber, she was surprised by their simplicity. No neural interfaces, no quantum augmentation, not even basic genetic optimization. They wore plain uniforms with minimal ornamentation. Their leader, Admiral Sarah Chen, stepped forward with a direct confidence that bordered on impropriety. "Supreme Commander," Chen said with a slight bow, "thank you for receiving us. Earth is honored by this opportunity." Before Zira could respond, the chamber's emergency protocols activated. The air filled with shimming holographic displays showing a massive energy surge at the edge of the system. Unknown vessels emerging from fold space announced the automated defense system. Configuration matches no known species. Energy readings exceed Alliance military standards by a factor of 300. Teln's tentacles went rigid with shock. Impossible. No species in known space has that level of technology. 5 massive ships appeared in the outer system, their surfaces seeming to bend light around them. They were darker than the void itself, as if cut from the fabric of space. Without warning or communication, they opened fire on the orbital defense platforms. The Alliance's most advanced defensive systems, capable of stopping any known weapon, might as well have been tissue paper. The platforms simply ceased to exist, converted to their base atomic components in microseconds. Full defensive deployment. Zira ordered, her crystalline command interface spreading across her skin. All ships engage. The pride of the Varline fleet, 40 ships of the line, moved to intercept. Their quantum weapons, capable of reshaping reality itself, lanced out at the intruders. The dark ships didn't even attempt to evade. The weapons simply failed to affect them. "Impossible," Zira whispered. "Nothing can resist quantum weaponry." Admiral Chen stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Your weapons are too advanced," she said quietly. "What?" "They're too perfect, too refined. You've spent 3,000 years making them more efficient, more powerful, more precise. But you've forgotten something fundamental about warfare." The dark ships began systematically destroying the Varline fleet. No tactics, no strategy, just raw technological superiority. Each ship that fell represented centuries of engineering and advancement, rendered meaningless in seconds. "And what precisely have we forgotten?" Zira demanded, watching her civilization's military might crumble. "Sometimes the crude solution is the correct one. Sometimes you need a rock instead of a laser." Chen touched her communicator. "ESS Endeavour, initiate Protocol Omega. Authorization Chen Alpha 7. The primitive human vessel suddenly came alive with activity. Panels shifted, revealing weapon systems that had been completely invisible to Varling's sensors. But these weren't the elegant energy weapons or quantum arrays that the Alliance used. They were projectile weapons, railguns, missile tubes, and what appeared to be some form of modified mining equipment. "You brought weapons to a diplomatic meeting." Zyra was aghast. Chen's expression was grim. "We bring weapons everywhere. That's why we're still alive." She turned to her staff. "Deploy the countermeasures. Let's show them what primitive technology can do." The Endeavor moved to engage the nearest dark ship, and that's when Zyra began to understand just how much she had underestimated humanity. Sometimes, she would later realize, true advancement means remembering what others have forgotten. The battle for Var Prime was about to begin, and with it, the galaxy's understanding of humanity would change forever. Project Titan's shadow. Deep beneath the methane seas of Titan, Project Director Maya Patel stood before a holographic display of humanity's greatest secret. The massive facility, carved into the moon's ice crust, housed something that would make the Varline Alliance recoil in horror, not because it was advanced, but because it was deliberately primitive. "Status report," she commanded, her voice echoing through the cavernous command center. The room's surfaces were bare metal, illuminated by harsh industrial lighting, a stark contrast to the organic architecture favored by the Alliance. Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, head of weapons development, stepped forward. "The kinetic delivery systems are operating at 98% efficiency. We've managed to weaponize virtually every piece of space debris larger than a centimeter." The hologram shifted to show their creation. Unlike the sleek Alliance vessels or the reality-bending dark ships, this was a monster of industrial engineering. 3 kilometers of armor plating, railguns, and what appeared to be industrial mining equipment modified for military purposes. "Show me the Lazarus system," Maya ordered. The display zoomed in on what looked like primitive rocket tubes. The Alliance would laugh at such technology until they understood what it actually did. Each tube contained thousands of self-replicating machines, not advanced AI or quantum computers, but simple mechanical devices operating on basic physical principles. "The beauty of the Lazarus system," Rodriguez explained, "is its simplicity. The Alliance thinks we're centuries behind because we still use mechanical computers in some systems. They don't understand that we do it by choice." Maya nodded. After the first encounters with the dark ships at Var Prime, humanity had realized something profound. The enemy's technology was so advanced that it could counter any sophisticated defense. Quantum weapons were useless. AI-driven systems were hacked. Even basic energy weapons were somehow rendered inert. But they couldn't counter simple physics. "Director Patel," a voice called from the engineering station, "we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. The dark ships have taken 3 more Alliance systems. Their quantum defenses failed instantly." Maya's expression hardened. "Show me the battle footage." The hologram shifted to show Alliance ships firing their advanced weapons, which simply ceased to function when they neared the enemy vessels. It was like watching children with toy guns trying to fight a modern army. "They still don't understand," Rodriguez said quietly. "The Alliance thinks technology always means progress. They've forgotten that sometimes the old ways are the best ways." Maya touched a control, and the display showed their vessel's primary weapon. It wasn't a quantum cannon or a reality warping device. It was essentially a giant shotgun designed to work in space. Thousands of pieces of tungsten carbide, accelerated to relativistic speeds by massive electromagnetic rails. "You can't hack physics," Maya said. "You can't use quantum fields to stop a chunk of metal moving at 30% of light speed. The more advanced you are, the more you rely on sophisticated defenses. And the more you rely on those defenses, the more vulnerable you are when they fail," Rodriguez finished. Another alert flashed. The dark ships had destroyed the Alliance's primary shipyard in the Centauri sector. 50,000 years of technological advancement, gone in minutes. "Begin final system check," Maya ordered. It's time to show the galaxy why humanity never abandoned primitive warfare. The facility rumbled as massive machinery came to life. Their creation, officially designated as the EDS Prometheus, but known to its creators as the Sledgehammer, began its final preparation sequence. The Alliance called us primitive because we still train for war, Maya said, watching the readiness indicators climb. They called us barbaric because we never fully embraced automation. They thought we were paranoid because we maintained physical backups and mechanical systems. She turned to face her team, her eyes reflecting the red warning lights now flashing throughout the facility. They're about to learn why humanity survived every catastrophe our world threw at us. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution. Sometimes you need a sword, not a force field. Deep beneath Titan's surface, humanity's answer to an overwhelming threat prepared for war. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't advanced. But like humanity itself, it was a survivor, ready to remind the galaxy that progress doesn't always mean moving forward. Sometimes it means remembering what everyone else has forgotten. The fall of New Eden. The colony world of New Eden hung like a blue jewel in space, its orbital defense platforms gleaming with Alliance-gifted technology. Governor Elena Martinez stood in the command center, watching the quantum sensor readouts with growing dread. The dark ships had appeared at the edge of the system, moving with the same implacable purpose they'd shown at every other world they'd consumed. "Status of the Alliance support fleet?" she asked, her voice steady despite the fear gripping her chest. 3 Quantum-class battleships and their escorts have taken up defensive positions, her tactical officer reported. They're deploying their latest countermeasures based on data from previous encounters. The Alliance ships were beautiful, their crystalline hulls channeling enough energy to power a small sun. They represented the pinnacle of galactic engineering, weapons that could literally rewrite the laws of physics within their area of effect. They were perfect, elegant, and utterly useless. The dark ships didn't even slow down. The Alliance vessels' quantum fields simply ceased to exist. Their reality-warping weapons dissipated harmlessly against the enemy's hull. In less than 5 minutes, the pride of the Alliance fleet was reduced to expanding clouds of atomic particles. "Ma'am," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the EDS Thermopylae." Martinez's expression shifted. The Thermopylae was one of Earth's primitive vessels, assigned to defend the colony despite the Alliance's objections. Its captain, David Okoro, appeared on the main screen, his dark face illuminated by red battle lighting. "Governor Martinez," he said without preamble, "initiate Protocol 0. Get your people to the shelters." "The shelters won't stop them, Captain. We've seen what these ships can do." Okoro's smile was grim. "The shelters aren't to protect against their weapons, Governor. They're to protect your people from what we're about to do." The Thermopylae moved forward, its ungainly bulk a stark contrast to both the elegant Alliance ships and the sleek dark vessels. It looked like something from humanity's industrial age had been launched into space, all exposed armor plates and massive radiator fins. "What are you doing?" Martins asked, watching as the ship positioned itself between the colony and the approaching enemy. "Something very stupid and very human," Okoro replied. "We're going to remind these advanced beings about the basics of physics." The dark ships approached, seemingly dismissive of the lone human vessel. Their weapons, whatever they were, reached out to disable the Thermopylae systems just as they had done to the Alliance fleet. Nothing happened. "Hard to disable systems that aren't there," Okoro said, his voice tight with concentration. "No quantum fields, no AI cores, no energy weapons, just good old-fashioned mechanical computers and chemical reactions." The Thermopylae's outer hull suddenly split open like a blooming flower, revealing what looked like massive industrial mining equipment modified for military use. Before the dark ships could react, the human vessel began launching what appeared to be simple metal containers. Kinetic dispersal in 3, 2, 1. The containers exploded, releasing clouds of metallic dust that quickly spread through space. The dark ships passed through it without apparent effect, until the Thermopylae fired its electromagnetic pulse array. The dust particles became charged, creating a conductive field that interfered with the dark ship's exotic technology. It wasn't enough to stop them, but it created something they hadn't faced in centuries: friction. Now for the main event. Okoro announced, firing solutions locked, releasing payload. The Thermopylae's main weapons weren't energy beams or quantum lances. They were railguns, massive electromagnetic accelerators that launched physical projectiles at relativistic speeds. The dark ship's advanced defenses, designed to counter energy weapons and quantum effects, meant nothing against chunks of tungsten moving at appreciable percentages of light speed. The first volley struck home. One of the dark ships literally folded in on itself as physics reasserted its fundamental authority over advanced technology. No force field or energy barrier could stop that much kinetic energy. But it wasn't enough. The remaining dark ships adjusted, their hulls rippling with impossible geometries. They returned fire, their weapons carving through the Thermopylae's primitive but tough armor. "Get your people to the shelters," Okoro repeated to Martinez. "We'll buy you as much time as we can." The Thermopylae charged forward, unleashing everything it had. It was humanity's answer to overwhelming technological superiority, not to try to match it, but to go in the opposite direction, to embrace the crude, the simple, the fundamental. Martinez watched as the human ship, burning and broken, rammed one of the dark vessels at full speed. The resulting explosion lit up New Eden's sky like a new sun. In the end, the colony fell. The dark ships were too powerful, too advanced, but they had learned something that day, something that sent ripples of concern through their collective consciousness. These humans, these primitives, had hurt them, had made them bleed. And somewhere in the depths of Titan, humanity's real answer to the dark ships was about to be unleashed. The old ways of war. The Emergency Council chamber on Mars was silent as Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen presented the casualty reports. Representatives from 17 Alliance species sat around the massive table, their various forms rigid with shock at the numbers scrolling across their displays. "In the past month," Chen said, her voice echoing in the chamber, "the dark ships have destroyed 32 Alliance worlds, 4 major shipyards, and over 600 vessels. Their advanced technology renders our most sophisticated defenses useless. Then we are doomed," declared the Varlane representative, his crystalline form dimming with despair. "If our quantum technology cannot stop them, that's exactly why we'll win," Chen interrupted. A hologram materialized above the table, showing Titan's methane seas. Because humanity never forgot something that the rest of the galaxy spent millennia trying to eliminate: the fundamental nature of warfare. The chamber's doors opened, and Maya Patel strode in, her Titan Project uniform bearing the simple patch of a hammer striking an anvil. "Project Prometheus is ready," she announced without preamble. The Alliance representatives watched in confusion as the hologram shifted to show what looked like an impossibly large cargo vessel. Its hull was ugly, covered in what appeared to be industrial equipment and massive armored plates. "What exactly are we looking at?" asked the Centaurian delegate, his eye stalks wavering with uncertainty. "The answer," Maya replied, "is something we learned from Earth's oceans thousands of years ago. When you can't fight a superior force head-on, you change the environment itself." The hologram zoomed in on various sections of the massive ship. What had appeared to be mining equipment was actually a delivery system for billions of self-replicating mechanical devices, not nanobots or quantum machines, but simple mechanical constructs operating on basic physical principles. "The dark ships rely on technology so advanced it might as well be magic," Chen explained. "They can counter any sophisticated weapon, adapt to any advanced strategy. But they've forgotten about friction, about gravity, about the simple forces that govern the universe." Maya touched a control, and the hologram showed a simulation. "The Prometheus doesn't fight them directly. It changes space itself around them. Those mining devices, they create clouds of magnetized particles that interfere with their exotic propulsion. The cargo containers release special compounds that interact with their hull materials on a chemical level. You're going to poison space itself. The Varlian representative was aghast. We're going to remind the galaxy why humanity survived every catastrophe our world threw at us, Chen corrected. We never stopped preparing for the worst. We never forgot that sometimes the crude solution is the right solution. The hologram shifted again, showing the Prometheus's main weapon. It wasn't an energy beam or a quantum lance, but rather an enormous mass driver. A weapon designed to accelerate chunks of matter to relativistic speeds using electromagnetic fields. You can't hack kinetic energy, Maya stated. You can't use quantum fields to stop 100 tons of tungsten moving at 30% of light speed. The more advanced you are, the more you rely on sophisticated defenses. And the more you rely on those defenses, the more vulnerable you are when they fail, Chen finished. A new alert flashed across the chamber's displays. The dark ships had been detected approaching the Sol system. Their advance had been methodical, unstoppable, consuming every world in their path. Now, Chen declared, they face something they've never encountered. A species that chose to remember its violent past instead of trying to forget it. A species that looks at advanced technology not as magic, but as tools that can fail. The Prometheus was already moving into position, its massive bulk casting a shadow across Titan's methane seas as it rose from its hidden berth. It didn't look like a warship. It looked like something from humanity's industrial revolution had been scaled up and launched into space. The dark ships want to show us that their technology is superior. Maya's smile was fierce. We're going to show them why humanity never fully embraced automation, why we kept training with mechanical backups, why we never stopped thinking about the crude solutions. In the silence that followed, the Alliance representatives began to understand something fundamental about their human allies. The rest of the galaxy had spent millennia trying to rise above their violent pasts, to become more sophisticated, more advanced. Humanity had chosen a different path. They remembered. They prepared. And now, facing an enemy that no advanced civilization could defeat, they would show the galaxy why sometimes the old ways were the best ways. The battle for Sol was about to begin, and with it, the galaxy would learn why humanity's primitive approach to warfare made them uniquely qualified to face an enemy that no amount of advanced technology could stop. Primitive no more. The Sol system's outer defense line blazed with activity as the Prometheus moved into position. The massive vessel's hull absorbed all light that touched it, a simple but effective countermeasure against energy weapons. Behind it, Earth gleamed blue and vulnerable, humanity's cradle watching its children prepare for their greatest test. Admiral Chen stood on the Prometheus's bridge, not a holographic interface room like Alliance vessels, but a hardened command center with physical controls and backup mechanical systems. The air hummed with the sound of actual machinery, a symphony of human engineering. Dark ships entering Jupiter's orbit, reported Captain Sarah Hassan, her hands dancing across manual control surfaces. 5 capital ships, same configuration as previous encounters. Maya Patel's voice came through on a simple radio channel. No quantum entanglement communication that could be disrupted. Lazarus systems are primed, ready to initiate on your command. The dark ships moved with perfect precision, their hulls rippling with impossible geometries. They had encountered this scene countless times before, a primitive civilization making its last stand. Their sensors would be cataloging the Prometheus, dismissing it as another example of inferior technology. That was exactly what humanity was counting on. All stations, Chen commanded, initiate Protocol Omega. Let's show them why humanity never stopped preparing for the worst. The Prometheus's outer hull suddenly split open like a blooming flower of steel and carbon. What appeared to be industrial equipment revealed their true purpose, delivery systems for humanity's answer to overwhelming technological superiority. Deploying Lazarus swarms, Maya announced. Phase 1 commencing. Billions of tiny machines, no more sophisticated than old Earth clockwork, spilled into space. They weren't nanobots or quantum devices. They were mechanical constructs operating on simple physical principles. The dark ships passed through them without concern, their advanced sensors detecting no threat from such primitive technology. Phase 2, Chen ordered. Change the rules of their game. The Prometheus fired its electromagnetic arrays, charging the mechanical swarms. In an instant, the space around the dark ships became something else. Not vacuum, not normal space, but a soup of magnetized particles and mechanical interference. For the first time in recorded history, the dark ships faltered. Their exotic propulsion systems, designed to ignore normal physics, suddenly had to contend with friction. Their quantum fields flickered as simple mechanical devices infiltrated their hull systems, not trying to hack or override them, but simply gumming up their works like sand in machinery. They're adapting, Hassan reported, shifting their hull configuration to compensate. Good, Chen smiled. That means they're playing our game now. Maya, initiate Phase 3. The Prometheus's main weapon wasn't impressive by Alliance standards. It wasn't a quantum lance or reality warping beam. It was essentially a very large gun, a mass driver designed to accelerate physical projectiles to relativistic speeds. Target locked, Maya confirmed. Firing solution computed using mechanical backups. No AI, no quantum calculations. The dark ships, their systems struggling with the primitive but effective interference around them, detected the weapon charging. Their defenses, designed to counter energy weapons and quantum effects, prepared to render it harmless. They weren't prepared for physics. The Prometheus fired, launching its specially designed projectiles. Each one was a simple piece of tungsten carbide, accelerated to 30% of light speed. No force field or energy barrier could stop that much kinetic energy. The first dark ship simply ceased to exist, converted to plasma by the impact. They're attempting to return fire, Hassan reported. Their weapons are having trouble targeting through the Lazarus field. The dark ship's response was devastating but unfocused. Their energy weapons, usually precise enough to slice a planet in half, scattered in the cloud of magnetized particles and mechanical interference. The Prometheus's primitive but incredibly thick armor absorbed hits that would have vaporized an Alliance quantum dreadnought. Continuing main battery fire, Maya announced. Lazarus swarms at optimal density. One by one, the dark ships discovered something their advanced technology had forgotten. You can't negotiate with physics. You can't use quantum fields to stop a fast-moving object. The more sophisticated your technology, the more vulnerable you are to simple, fundamental forces. The battle for Sol lasted 17 minutes. When it was over, the wreckage of 5 dark ships drifted through space, their advanced technology defeated by humanity's deliberately primitive approach. In the aftermath, as Alliance representatives gathered to study the victory, Chen stood before them in the Mars Council chamber. "You called us primitive," she said, "because we never stopped preparing for war. You called us paranoid because we maintained mechanical backups. You called us barbaric because we remembered what you tried to forget." She gestured to a hologram showing the Prometheus, its scarred hull a testament to human engineering. "We remembered something the galaxy spent millennia trying to forget. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Sometimes you need a sword, not a force field. Sometimes being primitive isn't a weakness. It's survival." The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. They had proved that progress doesn't always mean moving forward. Sometimes it means remembering what everyone else has forgotten. Sometimes the crude solution is the correct solution. And humanity, the primitives who refused to forget their violent past, had become the galaxy's best hope for survival. Because they remembered. Because they prepared. Because they never stopped being human.